welcome to Awake the Purpose of Life and Why You're Here. A better future can be found in your past life, that is. Get ready to dive deep into my confidential files and conversations with clients. I'm Dr. Toni Reilly of Birth, Grief and Death and the Human Experience for Self-Awareness, Personal Development and Wellbeing. I wrote the book, Awake the Purpose of Life and Why You're Here. So strap yourself in as we discuss time travel, past lives, reincarnation, transcendent experience, and how the afterlife weaves into why we are here. So, welcome. I'm your host, Dr. Toni Reilly. I have specialized in past lives, reincarnation, and the afterlife for 2 decades. After facilitating thousands of past lives and between live sessions, you could say I've heard it all. And I've heard various accounts of lives recalled in Egypt, more than various, many. Of course, there's before, or more so during uh, the development of the pyramids, and of course then there's post-pyramids when things become much more human. I'm excited to begin with my guest today to uncover the various extraordinary accounts, or one extraordinary account of how the pyramids came to be. Now, that's what we're doing today. The benefit of live streams means that you can comment. Please post them in the comments and we will look at those later after the interview. All of your comments, all of your questions, they're all welcome. Put them in the comments. Now, without further ado, let's talk to our guest. Now, our guest today is Jenny. She's a student of mine who's been studying the Soul Life coaching course over the last year. And the session that we're going to discuss today is one of a few, but just one, and it was conducted as part of her training. So, what I want to say is, welcome, Jenny.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for coming onto
Excited
the
to be here.
podcast. It's
Thanks for
wonderful to
inviting me.
have you. I'm very excited to hear all about your session, and I'm sure our listeners are too. So, what I want to ask you first is uh, what made you, well, this is a little bit different because you were training,
Yep.
but we'll still ask the same question and let you take it away. So, what made you first seek out recall regression? What attracted you to it? Or to learn it in your case?
I guess, I've always been interested in the metaphysical. And I think I'd heard a past life regression from someone else a few years ago. It's probably just pre-COVID or at the start of COVID. And so I started doing some of my own, and I had some fascinating experiences with those. But when I heard you on the Jeff Murrow podcast, I straight away knew that this was someone I wanted to learn from. And yeah, so what guided me to this particular regression? Because is that what you wanted me to say? The intention of this regression, or what brought me here?
No. Let's just talk a little bit about you before you tell us what happened during that session, because you do some interesting work in current life. Because what we're talking about on this podcast is our purpose of life, which of course is this life, and how all the little threads come together, and particularly, or not particularly, but of course from our past lives as well. So would you mind sharing with us what you do for,
Sure.
well, in life? Yeah.
Sure. I work in mental health. I work with people who are struggling with homelessness and mental health. I mean, anyone struggling with homelessness is going to be struggling with at least anxiety and perhaps depression. But we do work with some more complex people as well. And yeah, finding out more and more about past life regressions and reading, Dr. Brian Weiss's book and learning from you, Toni, and I just am amazed at the healings that can happen within past life regressions and going right through experiencing that life, experiencing your death, and then visiting your higher self to ask about, the purpose of that, the learnings of that, and for some healings. It's wonderful.
It really is wonderful.
Hearing some amazing stories from psychiatrists that work with this, and it just, I feel like, yeah.
It's really wonderful. And I must say, over roughly the last 15 years, the amount of people that come to do this training who are in professional roles such as yours, they work in mental health, they work in the hospitals, they're psychiatrists, they're psychologists, and there's a lot of people who know that there's more. And I find, particularly with mental health, a lot of the people that come, well, all of them that come, they always know that there's something much more, and they see their clients, I think, differently. Perhaps not all of them, but many of them very differently to how others, even in their work environment, see them. It's like they know that there's maybe even sometimes it's misdiagnosis or misunderstood what's going on with them. So I absolutely love that. I love that you're training, and you are the most extraordinary learner. I say student, you're not even a student, but anyway, you're
Oh,
back
thank you.
to just learn to refresh this time. So I think what was really cool also was in your session, it's a little bit different to a traditional past life regression session,
Just a little bit.
because it switched at some point, and you were what people probably know as channeling. I call it streaming, but basically where another energy comes through you and starts saying
Oh, it gives me
incredible
chills just you
insight.
saying that, actually.
It
Yeah.
does, me too. So I think everyone's going to be very excited to hear from you what your session was like and what happened. So I think what I'll do now is just ask you to tell our listeners all about your session in your words, and I'll come back on in after that. So take it away, Jenny. Thank you.
Sure. So Toni directed me to, did you want me to talk about my intention for the session first, Toni? Well, I will. Okay, so my intention with this past life regression, because often it's really important to set an intention, like what do you want to find out about this life that, or a previous life that relates to this life. And my intention was to find out why I have alopecia, actually. So this is not my real hair. I do have alopecia, and I just thought maybe there's some information in a past life that I could draw on. So anyway, in the regression, I ended up in Egypt. I knew straight away where I was, and I saw myself on a boat that looked like a shoe in the middle of the desert. And I'm standing on this boat. There was no water under it. There was just sand under it. I am a very tall man standing in the middle of this shoe boat. I've got a headdress on. There's a round sort of disc, a snake. I could see a cloak. I wasn't sure whether it was wings or a cloak, and I'm holding a staff. So then after that, so that's who I was, and I was guided by the questions that Toni was asking as well. So she's asked me how old I was, and I was 600 years old. And this was 9,000 years ago. So I'm like, God, like when you're in a regression, you still have an element of your consciousness there. So your monkey brain's going, what? This is crazy. So, let me gather my thoughts. So in the regression, Toni was asking me how old I was, and was I of significance? And I said that yes, I was. And sorry, sorry, Toni, I was losing
It's
myself a
okay.
little bit there.
It's okay. You've got your notes there, so you can
Yeah.
use them.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
Like as Toni was asking me about this person, And she asked me what my name was. And I said Jeffrey. And it was really funny because I kind of knew that wasn't right for someone in ancient Egypt. And then all of a sudden I said, ask my name again. And in this moment, my voice changed. And it was very masculine, strong voice. And I said, Soul, my name is Soul. And gosh, it makes me feel a bit emotional even saying that. And the Soul then says, I have to read this. The pyramids are the source of my pride, but the pride is not for myself, but for the accomplishment. I can see the pyramids. Toni asked, was he involved in building them? And then I changed to saying he as well, which is interesting. He helped orchestrate this. There have been many energies in unison. How long ago? 9,000 years. What else of significance? And I've said, it's energies coming down into the pyramid through the top and out of the top. It's glowing. What do these energies do? Transport. Very, very easy. It was like just words, transport, very easy. What can you tell us to help understand about your hair in your lifetime, this 9,000 years ago? And I'm just saying it's about energy. I can feel energy right now in my head. And in the regression, I could feel energy all over my head. It was amazing. I wasn't actually wearing my hair. So it has to do with that. It is not compatible with the hair. It's a vibration that was important to the people of ancient Egypt. This was the energy that was used to lift the rocks. Many, many people joined their energies, and not just people. There were others not of this earth. Toni asked, will we see anything of this nature, this energy again? Yes. When? We are all learning to raise our energies. We must learn, emotional again, through meditation, through peace, and through love to raise our vibrations. We must learn through meditation, through peace, through love to raise our vibrations. These are the vibrations that built the pyramids. These are the vibrations that unified the world. So that's where, and after that, well, one more sentence, I guess. What do you want her to know? Jenny needs to meditate more. Jenny needs to raise her vibrations. We are here to assist. She shall ask. Ask for soul. S is for snake, signifies the snake. The O is the sun, and the L is the angle of the pyramid, 51 degrees. So, okay. And then is there anything else? And all that I said then is we are done. And so it became we at that point, which is really interesting too. Toni asked me to tell it like a story, actually, and that was my intention. But then when I was thinking about it, it really was just this interaction, these words that were coming through. And in that moment, I wasn't really seeing anything else. I was just it was like I was speaking. So I can't really tell a story about it except for that first part where I was seeing this myself on this shoe boat, which now I know is the solar bark. Well, I don't know, but I believe that this is a solar bark, and maybe that was related to Ra. Yeah, so I have done some research. Toni, did you want me to go into that?
Jenny, yes, you have done some research. You've done some quite extensive research, and you found some pictures and
Yes.
that correlate with what you saw. And yeah, please tell us about how you felt you resonated with the research and what you discovered. That'd be great.
Sure. So I really felt like that was significant, and from the description, I'm not right across ancient Egyptian history, obviously, but there were some familiar things I've seen before, I guess. So when I looked up all of those elements together, I came up with Amun Ra, and I think you might have a picture of that Ra. Toni, you're Ra. And as soon as I saw this picture, I was like, that's it. Like,
I'll share
and
Ra.
yes, please share Ra.
He's sharing now.
Oh, is he? I can't see him. Okay, so you're
Yeah.
sharing. Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Yes, that is exactly what I saw. Now, although that solar bark, the ship there is called the solar bark, is on water. The myth of Ra is that he was the deity of the sun in Egypt, and he sailed across the sky in the daytime in this solar bark. So there was no water under him. He was sailing across the desert. So, which, because remember I giggled at that because it just seems so ridiculous. He's a boat in the middle of the desert. um, and then when he sails into the night, he has this battle with this snake that's trying to keep him in the night and keep the sun in the night. So the disc on Ra's head is the sun, but he's a hero. He always wins the battle, and he brings that sun back into the world for the next day, bringing life to all. So, that was Ra. But at the same time, I was like, well, he didn't say he was Ra. He said he was Sol. So, and I'd never heard of an Egyptian god called Sol. So, looking up Sol, I knew there was Egyptian gods in I think Greece called Sol. I mean, Sol means sun, so that's where I made the connection with Ra, I guess, as well. I think that's French for sun, but it's probably the word for sun in other languages as well. So when I was looking up Sol, King Solomon came up, and when I found out about King Solomon, he was an amazing king. And I also remembered when I was little the story of King Solomon threatening to cut a baby in half because these two women were squabbling over. He's renowned for his wisdom, but King Solomon was never going to do that. What he knew was that the real mother would say, the other woman can have it, because she wouldn't want her baby to be harmed. So I remember that. I was fascinated by that story when I was little. But anyway, King Solomon was renowned for his wisdom and also his magic. And he had these symbols that he used to bind and control demons to do his bidding. And he used them apparently to build King Solomon's temple, which is in Israel. And well, what's it? It's not called King Solomon's temple anymore. It's a temple in Israel, Temple of Jerusalem. I should know my history better. So there's still magical texts, and it's Solomonic magic. But there were some similarities between what Sol does, and the thing that I love too is that King Solomon rode around on a magic carpet. And I thought that's a little bit similar to the solar bark. You know, these legends, they take a different form in different countries. So,
well, also they had to come from somewhere, didn't they? That's something I always feel like when we're talking past lives, or when you're watching cartoons and
yes.
and all the dragons and all of these things, mythical creatures. They had
Yeah.
to come from somewhere. Someone
Exactly. So
can't
Aladdin,
have just completely made
Aladdin's
it up.
King Solomon, you know, and the
Yeah,
genie in the bottle. These are
yeah,
the deities that he's binding and controlling to do his bidding. Um,
yeah.
but I was going to say something else, but yeah, the connection to me was really strong with King Solomon and Ra, and yeah, I had that sort of knowing when I found that information.
It's awesome. Jenny, also you found or have a great picture of the pyramids with the
Oh,
energy streaming in, which I'm gonna show that up in a minute. But while I show up that image, I want to ask you about, how does what you recall associate with your life now? And did it heal the symptom? Did it help you understand a relationship? Did it help you understand a life circumstance? Tell us about how recalling this made any sense to you and how it fit into your life.
I guess recalling it gave me a sense of peace about the alopecia. Um, I was on a trial, a drug trial a while ago for alopecia, and it has grown. a bit, but they had told me, because the trial ended and they had told me that would probably fall out again. But it hasn't. So you never know. This could have had an impact on that. But I guess just that knowing, I mean, it's pretty special. If I had no hair because I was using my energies, my vibrations to build the pyramids, I'm cool with that. That's actually, I think that's pretty amazing. So I think there's a sense of peace in knowing that relates to that past life.
And Jenny, also in your early days, I think maybe in your 20s, you said you had some maybe knowing or beliefs. You call them beliefs about this. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I always have been. I remember as a little girl loving to draw hieroglyphs and just loving the colors and all of those sorts of things. But then in my 20s, I don't even, because I wasn't studying Egyptian history or anything, but if someone was talking about the pyramids or I was looking at a picture of them, I would always be saying, they weren't built like that. They weren't built by people lifting rocks. I just had this really strong feeling about it. And one of my brothers, he's a bit more scientific, one year, because he's like, unless the evidence is there, that he bought me this book, which was how the pyramids were built. And someone had to put a lot of work into, hey, this is how the slaves put these logs and they rolled things along. And it was a lovely gift and I appreciate it, but I still didn't believe it. I was still like, no, that's not how it was done. So when I had this regression, as much as it was a surprise to me that I was told all of this in this regression, it wasn't a surprise. It was like a validation, a confirmation of what I'd already felt. So it was quite interesting.
I think that it is interesting, and I think that it's a bit breezy here. What's happened? What's interesting with what people recall in their past lives is often they do have a knowing. They're like, oh, that makes sense from a feeling I had when I was a little kid, or a dream, or a knowing that they had. So yeah, it's quite exciting to hear that you did have that inherent belief that this is the way things happened there, and then you recall it all those years later. Probably I'm very much all about this time in humanity being a real eye-opening time and a changing time for us. So to me, it's not by chance that not just you, there's many people coming forward with this similar, if not the same information. So it's all coming from so many different people who've never met each other, but they're recalling a similar thing. In fact, it's been going on for a little while, but I think now it's really the people are ready, or humanity's ready to hear about it. They maybe are a lot more open to that it's kind of happened by magic as opposed to hard labor.
Yeah. I believe there's a lot, listening to a lot of different people and channelers and regressions and past near-death experience, the message is often similar about vibrations. And I feel like those of us that are probably listening to this type of podcast are very interested in raising our vibrations.
Yeah. And Jenny, we didn't discuss this on the podcast, but you shared with me before, hope you don't mind me saying, but that you had meditated before we hopped on this morning.
Yes.
And you said...
That was pretty cool.
You said that you saw you tell us what you saw. What happened in the meditation?
So just a brief sort of flash, really. Saw the pyramids because I asked for Sol. Sol told me to ask for him, so I asked for him. And so what he showed me, I guess it was him, was I just saw energy coming down the pyramid, but instead, like in the regression, I saw it was just a flash. The picture that I showed you, it was a flash of the energy coming from the outside to, and you just assume it's coming into the pyramid. But in this one, I saw it going into the pyramid, and it was like there was a chimney, and it was bouncing down, it was crackling down the walls, and then sort of just dispersing through these other tubes, what would you call them? They're not pipes. There's what are they called? Chimneys
Yeah.
throughout the pyramid. So
These
and
energy
so
centers.
it was a nice little validation.
I
Yeah,
think
from soul.
it's validating, but also I would like to mention that you've not been to the pyramids, but what you describe is I have been. I've been. I went actually before I got into any
Yes.
of this past life stuff. But when you walk into the pyramids, of course you're going underneath the pyramid and you're going downstairs, which is what
Yes.
you described, and it's
I
very
did.
much
Sorry, I forgot to
yeah,
mention the stairs. Like when I
yeah,
first saw showed the pyramids, the first thing I saw was stairs.
yeah,
And then we just sort of went in. It was kind of like there's zooming into, some
yeah.
people call it the black void. Like it was
It is
just
like
in
that.
there for a while
Yeah,
before. So yeah, definitely those stairs.
yeah.
And so that was really, really interesting when you said, have you been there? And I'm like, no. And you're like, that's actually what it's like. I'm like, okay.
Yes. So to me, to me it validates regression a whole lot more when you've not been somewhere and you feel it, know it, and you're having visions of something that you actually haven't seen before. I think
So
what happens also, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here, but in regression, when you do, or in this case, you got it in meditation, it's kind of the same thing. But when you go downstairs in there, it's like you're walking down them. It's not like you're like if someone's been and filmed it and we see a documentary, it's very different to in regression. You actually, if you've walked down those stairs, you're walking down the stairs, and that's the view and the dimensions that you see. I don't mean dimensions. I mean the
shape.
you know the angle
Well,
and everything that you see. It's as if you
yes.
literally are walking there. So yes, I thought that was really
Well,
interesting.
and that's what I was saying to you earlier.
Perspective.
In another,
Perspective.
yes, thank you, Coco. In
Yeah.
another meditation, way before, it was probably middle of COVID, kind of. Oh, probably not allowed to mention that word, but I'd done a meditation, and I again I saw a pyramid, but what I saw was the pyramid. But then there was like a mirror image of it underneath the ground. So when you're so like a rhomboid shape, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I wrote that down in my little meditation dream diary. But as you were saying, those steps go down, and I think that's really, really interesting. Perhaps there is a little bit more going on underneath the ground than what we realize.
Oh, there is. There absolutely is. I think further on in upcoming episodes of the podcast, we'll get to talk more about that because we have some brilliant guests who've been there with access all areas.
Wow.
And they've been there to meditate and tune into the energies. And we will have those couple of people on to talk in depth about it. Plus also, they both have had past life experiences and or transcendent experiences before they've been.
For that.
So there'll be some
Amazing.
exciting insights that we can get or we can share. So gosh, Jenny, thank you very much for sharing your story. I really appreciate it, and I think we're not done yet. We're still in training a little bit, so
Yes.
that's an exciting thing for us. Gosh, if anyone else wants to learn past life regression, it's a very exciting
it really is
thing to facilitate and to experience, isn't it?
And Toni, you are just so good at it. I like just the way you hold that space in there's like for me in that regression, because I went through and I transcribed it, there's a lot of blank spaces. And I came out of it, didn't I, saying, I don't think I said much because initially I couldn't quite remember it. And you're like, I've got 5 pages of notes. But you know how to hold that space really well. And I don't know whether you're looking, I don't know how you know when it's time to connect. I need to ask you that question outside of here, but you do seem to just intuitively know when it's the right time to ask the question.
Oh yeah, I think you go into the zone together.
Yes,
in the zone, for want of a better description.
Yeah.
So yeah,
amazing.
Really,
well, thank you so much, and I think thank you to anyone that's listening.
Thanks,
I hope
Jenny.
it made sense.
Of course it did. Now, we don't have any comments at the moment, but if anyone has comments or questions, if you post them
Yeah.
now or as we keep talking, Jenny's going to come back over the coming days or weeks, and she'll respond if you have any questions for her, and we will keep our eye on it as well. So because a lot of you might be watching this in replay, so after we're not live anymore, but for now I'm going to say goodbye to you, Jenny.
Thanks so
And
much, Toni.
oh, thanks so
Been a
much.
pleasure.
And Coco and I are going to hop on here and talk about you and your session.
Great. Fantastic. Can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, that was lovely.
Okay, see you later.
Bye now.
Bye.
Well, there we go. Hope you enjoyed Jenny's story. Well, it's not a story, it's her regression. It's what she actually recalled. So it's very exciting. I would like now to get Coco on with me so that we can have a little discussion about what happened with Jenny. And because the podcast is about the purpose of this life, we're going to talk a little bit about Jenny's life mission that we haven't discussed with her in this, but we'll talk about it. So listen out, and then we'll also get into answering any of your comments here that I can see coming in now. So without further ado, I shall get Coco on with me. Hello, Coco.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Or thanks for picking me up. What a story that was. I think I've had at least one regression or one client that who's gone to those times as well, and certainly the that whole time period or timeline within our Earth is so fascinating. So yeah, it was great to hear that.
So good. Yes, I remember that session because he is one of the most compelling, I think, cases that we've heard. We've spoken to him in meetings that he had the same experience or beliefs, or he has streamed the same information that Jenny has. Mm-hmm. So, and not just Jenny, we have quite a few other people who have the similar information. And I'm sure from this, we're going to find out that there's a lot of people who have experienced this same way that the pyramids came to be. Actually, Coco, just before we continue, I want to just flash up the picture that Jenny found, which describes what she saw with the energy coming in to the pyramid. Let's have a little look at it. Let me see if I've shared that. I didn't, but I'm going to. Here we go. Let's have a look at this for a moment. Isn't that a fabulous image? Just to give you an idea of what she had seen around the pyramids.
Wow.
Of course, this is after they're there. So there's all sorts of things that happen because they're there and after. But in the building of them, there was the energy coming through the people or the beings that were there doing that. So it's really amazing, and I'm sure we'll be able to get some images that accurately represent how, I'm just going to stop sharing that, how it all happened without any brawn, but all with energy.
Whilst we're on that, it perfectly segues. I have a few questions I'd like to ask you or get your opinion on. Yes, Jenny mentioned, and you just recounted as well, that about the combined forces, the peoples, the beings that had built the pyramids using energy or formed however you'd like to explain it. But to you, what is energy? How do you describe it?
Oh God, you put me on the spot. Okay, energy to me is this force, that gentle force, that absolutely everything about humanity, about us, and even beyond is a derivative of. So the way that I see energy is not physically see, the way that I believe or see that there's a wasp there, that it works is it can create anything. It can turn into anything. It can dissolve anything. And that's the way I see energy, just as this absolutely omnipresent, ever adaptable, transmutable thing, energy. That's my unscientific description of energy. I'm sure someone could give us a wonderful scientific explanation of it, but yeah.
No, that's probably just sort of something in basic terms, but I think that also encapsulates energy as well, that it's whatever you want it to be and includes all beings and everything. And another question for you. You mentioned that you said times are eye-opening and changing now, and I want to know, throughout your lifetime, over the past 50 years, leading up to today, 2024, what have you observed and the change in energy through the generations, through when you were growing up to maybe raising your children and things like that, to now?
Coco, I was not expecting these questions. Gosh, okay, well, in 53 years, everything has changed phenomenally. I guess even thinking about technology, because I'm Gen X, and so we had no technology. And then about the time that I started work, or started work in an office, at least as a teenager in my late teens, computers just came in. So, and of course, the advancement in computers and with our phones and things now is just extraordinary. Whereas your generation, being Gen Z or Gen Z, whichever you prefer to call it, you only know technology as we know it now. So those are huge differences within humanity. And the other exciting thing that I've seen happen, probably mainly because I had 3 Gen Z children, and I got to experience their friends, all of your friends as well. It's so obvious to me how different you all are compared to myself and my friends and my parents, the generations before you. It's blatantly obvious, particularly, I guess, because as time went on, I've studied people in depth. So they're different, and it's amazing. And I think Gen Z do cop a hard, I think they're hard to cop potentially by some of the older generations, because they don't quite understand what's actually going on with the change. But what's happening is really these Gen Z are of such a different energy, where they're not here to be as practical as we were. We are working our way in the evolution of humanity back to the way it was, more so when these pyramids were built, when it was energy, much more energetic and less human. So we're at the beginning of kind of full circling back to that. But what happened in human terms with the Gen Z is they come in inherently knowing that we are souls in a human body, and they will be inherently much more connected to their intuition. It's why they are so anxious. That if they don't understand it yet, over time they will. But when they don't understand the energy, that's what it will present as: really anxious. Maybe vivid dreams, many things, but probably the most obvious thing will be this anxiety and this natural empathy, this inherent empathy. They don't need to learn empathy, they have it. They're soft. They care about other people, and that's the big difference. But that's what's happening. We're evolving back to where we started with those pyramids, and those pyramids are all over the world. They're not just in Egypt. So this extraordinary stream of the creation of humanity actually happened all over the world, and the world as we know it now. So might have got a bit off track there, but
No, it was fantastic. Yeah. I guess summing your words up, you've observed a lot, but I think and hopefully moving forward from today 2024 we can or we are working our way back to that, which I believe is quite exciting, and I'm happy to be at the forefront of that as a Gen Z, like you said. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that you came to work with me, Coco. Although your sister and brother are also extraordinary, your working with me is an absolute blessing. Gosh, we will talk about that in another show, because I could go on and on and on about the signs and synchronicity that we came to discover around that. I think one thing I wanted to talk about with Jenny was about her purpose in life. I meant to actually ask her, but it's okay. We'll cover it here, because I wanted to talk about the fact that she's actually a life mission 11. So in our life map system, which we developed to help people understand what their mission in life is, Jenny's a life mission 11, the messenger. What we know about being a messenger is it's akin to Aquarian energy, actually, which I can say now because we're in the age of Aquarius. So these number 11 people, who are rare, by the way, they're rare, but they are called into the forefront to start remembering things, just like Jenny did. And she's come out in a way today to share what she has potentially always known, but hasn't really said to everybody. But I think what happens is the calling is so strong that here she is, and look what she shared with us. Phenomenal. Not just that extraordinary knowing or experience that she had, but also she revealed a personal thing with alopecia that is, it takes a lot of guts to do that. So Jenny, thank you when you watch this back. It was really good. Yeah, so the being a life mission 11 will start to make more sense to not just to Jenny, but to any of you who are on this mission. And part of the mission is also that you try to avoid it for a long time, because it's hard. And so it's like what happens is you come out into this kind of more energetic spiritual realm, and then you creep back into the comfort zone of everyday traditional work and things like that, and then you creep out again, and usually through life you'll do it quite a few times, and then around now, because we are in the age of Aquarius now, you'll be coming out. So any number 11s listening, you're being called, and this might make sense to you because it probably will resonate. It's not only for 11s, because a lot of people have 11 energy within their character or within their life mission. So, but the outright 11s, whew, you're going to be propelled. Yeah. I'm just reading a little comment here. Jenny's talking about what Sol was saying and how much she can resonate, yeah, with the mission and everything. So 11s, hey, if you want to find out your life mission, you add your birth date together, but you can use our free calculator. Actually, we have one at soullifemap.com. soullifemap.com. You can go and find out your life mission. It's a free calculator, and yeah, go ahead and do that. Now, I just would like to know, I'm going to check if we have any comments from our listeners, and let's see what we can say with these. Oh, okay, let's see. Oh, Marianne said, when you speak of the number 11, for example, do you speak? Yes, we're speaking of life path numbers. We call it the life mission in our life map system, but yes, they're life path numbers. What else have we got here? Oh, yes. So I can't see this person's name, but I'm sorry I can't acknowledge your name, but you've said you're right. 11s are being propelled forward to take action. They are. It's full steam on, full steam ahead. You'll feel it. Anyway, we're here to support you. Love you, 11s. It's really interesting, actually. A lot of the people, a great portion of the people who are drawn to even do this spiritual psychology that we teach and developed, they're probably half of them, if not more, are number 11. So it's really exciting. Now we've got Patrick. Hey, Patrick. Yes, you are a number 11. There you go. Maybe you're going to feel yourself being pulled towards doing something different in these coming years. We have also Karen. Karen, let's see what you've said or asked here. When are truths about the pyramid actually going to be shared with the general public, like predictions? Karen, I think you'll find they are. They're starting. It's happening. It's underway. I noticed that there's a guy on YouTube. In fact, I think he's all over social media. I haven't listened distinctly to what he's saying, but he is talking a lot about the pyramids and what's happened. He's a number 11. I do happen to know that. And gosh, his name's escaping me for the moment, but he is extraordinary. Someone else. Extraordinary. Also, there's others other than this one I'm trying to think of. Jason Sherkar, I think, is another one. Also, our guest who's coming on, who Coco regressed recently, he is Danish and he is fabulous. He's going to come on and share all of the things that he knows about those pyramids, that he knows, that he's streamed, and that he discovered when he was there. So there's him, and also my colleague Crystal Rosenkill Christensen. She will come on also and talk about what she discovered there, what she streamed in the last 20 years. So there's a lot that we're going to be talking about in regard to the pyramids, but also just in trusting this knowing that you have as a person, trusting what your soul is telling you, what you know, your soul, not SOL, SOUL. Soul is Jenny's big connection. He might be yours too. But yeah, our soul knows exactly what happened. It knows exactly what we're doing here now, and we can tune into it. And the big thing that we need to do here is trust that when we're receiving information, when we're meditating, just spontaneously, or even just that we know that we trust it. This man's name, someone's given it to me here, it's Robert Edward Grant. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this realm. And there's also a guy who I'm sure we'll be able to get on and who traveled with our upcoming guest to the pyramids, and he's been working for, I think it's the University of Boston. His name's Robert. Can't remember his last name for the moment, but he's been working on the fact that they are so much older than that has been presented to us through traditional history. So gosh, so much going on. So Karen, it's all going to be coming out, and if you have anything to add, go ahead. And I'm sure predictions, as we go along, predictions are going to be held in a lot more high esteem, because these predictions will have been made through history and they're now coming to the forefront. They're happening. We're seeing them. So it's a pretty exciting time to be around. Oh, look at this. I have to flash this up. Richard's on here. He's an 11. Sometimes there's so many 11s that it's just like, of course you are. So, yay, hello, welcome. Marianne said she's a 9. 9's humanitarian energy, though. We call you the humanitarian. So it's not too dissimilar. But you've got you are here to make an impact as well. But the 11s have got a striking impact to make, because we call them the messenger, because something that they will all do, whether it's a little thing that they do within their own family or something that they do for the wider population, they will be here. They're here to leave a legacy. They'll be remembered for what they said. Let's see here. So Jocelyn said yes, and she was going to say him. I think Robert is who she means, or Ben Carson. I've never heard of Ben Carson. So, and I don't think I've heard of Jason Shirker either, or have not watched any of their content. But there you go. There's some others. Thanks, Jocelyn. And Karen's saying that she saw this stuff and she talked about the drawings on the walls, what just was shown to him. Oh, I'm thinking she means Robert Edward, but yes, so much, so interesting. And Karen's made another comment here. I just want to touch on that. So she said she thinks it's odd that they haven't dug under the pyramids, and if they have, to know about how they reverse underground and have kept it from everyone. Well, mate, I can't speak of this, but I bet our next guest that talks of this will know more because he's been
Absolutely.
there and he had access all areas, didn't he, Coco?
Yeah.
So we might receive some really exciting insights. And I know also that when I went into the pyramid, when I was there, that it's humongous. It's massive under there. So it doesn't surprise me in the least that they're the same, that it's most likely this underneath the same as it is like this above. Sorry for my dodgy pyramid shapes, but yeah. So I think we're
that's
in
beautiful.
some exciting times as it all gets uncovered. I wonder also if there's a little bit of angst about destroying the history so that they don't dig it up willy-nilly and, you know, not wanting to destroy what's there. But that's just an assumption. We'll see what happens. So, yeah. Wow. There we go. So, Coco, how do you feel about coming on when we get our fabulous, really insightful Egyptian guests on? Will you come and join me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I think it's a great topic and I am excited to be a part of it. Yeah, it's super fascinating, and everyone or lots of people, experts, there's 1,000,001 documentaries and thoughts about it. So it will be nice to get a regressed perspective or a different perspective on it.
I like that you said that, because I must say, personally, I haven't really watched documentaries on the pyramids. So, and I love that with regression in general, is that I don't always know a lot, or I watch after because I was never much of a history buff. But of course, we do have a lot of access to things now. So a lot of what we recall in past lives can be found on the internet or Google to verify or at least affirm what we've recalled in regression. So, and I guess the other thing is when we get our guest on, who's been under those pyramids, because you regressed him, you'll probably be able to recall what that was like from your perspective as well, hearing that very energetic talk and language, and really not so much human past lives, which is usually what past life regression is. These are much more energetic times.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's it for us.
Oh, there's one more question.
Oh, is there? Okay, well,
If
let's.
you'd like to have a look.
I'd like to.
I'll pop it up.
Okay, thank you. Oh, so Patrick number 11, he said, Toni, I'm not sure if you knew, but you touched upon about there being other pyramids throughout the world, and they're all aligned to the same exact constellations. Isn't it just extraordinary? How could we not know that this is beyond humanity? So yeah, Good point, Patrick. That's right. And okay, I do have to admit, I did recently watch a documentary on Netflix where some guy went around to all of these gorgeous places where the other pyramids are and things other than the pyramids of Giza, talking about all of this. And it was wonderful. And really for me, like, I didn't know that they were everywhere. So really exciting. And aligned to the exact same constellations. So incredible. Yeah. There we go. Good comments. Love it. If you are watching this on the replay, put your comments in and tell us where you're coming in from. That's good. We like to know. And that way we'll keep our eye on the podcast even after we're not live anymore, and we can answer questions. And Jenny said that she would also, which is wonderful of her. So if you have any questions, even for her about what it felt like, or if you want to prompt her for anything, go right ahead. She's very wonderful at responding and communicating. So I'm sure she'll be very happy to answer any of your curiosities. For now, I'm going to say that really, actually, if you want to have a past life regression or an in-between live session, you can have a session with us. You can find out about those at ToniReillyInstitute.com. And last week I told you that our guest this week was going to be actually our guest next week. I had a moment and told you the wrong guest. But anyway, he's coming on next week. So our guest next week is Simon Bown, who is the host of the Past Life podcast. So he is also a regression therapist. He's a hypnotherapist. So he's really exciting to talk to because he talks from the perspective of not only having recalled things himself, but also what his clients will have recalled as well. So we might not be talking about pyramids, but you know what? We can go there. I can put that down as something to prompt him for, which of his clients have had experiences at the pyramids. But yeah, so join us same time next week for Simon. And thank you so much for joining us this week. Thanks. I want to say thank you to Jenny again too. And thanks, Coco. Please subscribe. Hit subscribe. It's going to help us to reach a lot of people. We're going to be sharing so much information that will be helpful on here. So if you can subscribe, comment as well, share it around. And thank you. We shall see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.